James Gilliard was 48 at the time of his unfortunate death. As a firefighter, James Gilliard was a captain of the Fire Rescue 16 and had served diligently for 21 years in the same line of work. He began his career as a firefighter at the Martin County Fire Rescue in 1996. James remained in Martin County for 3 years until 1999. After leaving the Martin County Fire Rescue, James Gilliard joined the Palm Beach County Fire Rescue in 1999, where he served until his death in 2020. Family and friends remember James as a very friendly guy. He was a man with many friends and was always ready to make another one. James Gilliard was always ready with a joke and was easy to laugh with. Mike Diapoles, a close friend of James Gilliard, fondly referred to James by his nickname Cork and recounted the specific event that really bonded him to James. 6 years ago, I learned how big his heart truly was. My son had some health issues, and my son and I spent 27 days and nights at St. Mary's Hospital. During that time, Cork, whom I'd see once in a while, started calling me every day and checking up on my son. He would stop by after every shift on his way home and bring coffee or breakfast. He brought his crew over several times and dropped off dinner. I never asked. He would just show up. We would sit and talk about everything. He knew I needed a mental break. He was not a fair-weather friend. He was a true friend, and I will never forget him. His family was very important to him, and James was dedicated to them in every way. His wife Michelle and his children Olivia and Benton enjoyed rich relationships with James. A well-liked man in his community and at work, the conspiracy around the death of Fire Captain James Gilliard is truly confusing. On the 2nd of November, 2020, the police received a 911 call at 8:17 p.m. from Mr. J. Rind. The call came from his residence at 4557 Artesia Way. In the call, Mr. Rind claimed that he had accidentally shot his friend in the stomach while showing him a firearm. Authorities immediately rushed to the scene. Medics took James Gilliard to St. Mary's Hospital, where he was pronounced dead a few moments after arriving at the hospital. Mr. Gilliard's body was then taken to the Palm Beach County Medical Examiner's office for an autopsy. While this was going on, detectives who had been called to the scene of the shooting were questioning Mr. Rind about the incident. In the interview, Mr. Rind repeatedly mentioned that he wasn't aware that the gun was loaded. J. Rind told the detectives that he had offered James Gilliard the opportunity to buy all his firearms as he intended to relocate to Mexico. He explained that it was the course of showing James Gilliard the firearms that he had for sale. The gun went off as he stood about 4 feet away from Mr. Gilliard. As the detectives questioned him further, J. Rind insisted that he had no negative feelings towards Mr. Gilliard. He told the detectives that he and Mr. Gilliard had been friends for years. He insisted that the entire incident was a mistake. After several questions asked, the detectives, satisfied that the entire thing had just been an accident, let J. Rind go. As part of a routine investigation, J. Rind was invited in and questioned about his relationship with James Gilliard. In the course of his testimony, Rind said that he bought and sold jewelry and had met Gilliard about 4 years ago, when Gilliard owned a pawn shop. He told the investigating officers that Gilliard had picked him up on the night of the shooting for dinner at the Bonefish Grill on PGA Boulevard, at which he drank no alcohol and Gilliard had a glass of wine. Further investigation at the scene of the death and the search of J. Rind's car revealed 1 box of endocodone, 1 baggie with 30 blue tablets marked with the imprint R13, 26 orange tablets imprinted ABG60. The investigators also recovered $2,820 scattered across the couch in Mr. Rind's living room. On the 4th of November, while investigation into the recovered items Detective Berberus, with a number of uninformed officers, arrested Mr. Rind for manslaughter and the improper exhibition of a weapon. By the time of Mr. J. Rind's arrest, the toxicology report on James Gilliard had returned, revealing that traces of amphetamines, oxycodone, and morphine in Mr. Gilliard's system. As the forensic evidence gathered by investigators at the crime scene was reviewed, investigators began to suspect that there was more to J. Rind's story than he was letting on. Between the drugs found in Mr. Gilliard's bloodstream and ones revealed by the forensic sweep of J. Rind's truck, decided that there was more to be found out. After applying for and receiving J. Rind's cell phone, investigators proceeded to go through every message sent by J. Rind to James Gilliard. The messages revealed something rather shocking. Investigators discovered that Mr. Gilliard and Mr. Rind were apparently involved in buying, selling, and trading drugs. According to the police report, 77 of their text messages had something to do with selling or buying drugs. The police found 3 people involved in the operation: Mr. Gilliard, J. Rind, and his roommate named Alex. J. Rind would bring back prescription drugs with him from his trips to Mexico. The text messages on J. Rind's phone show James Gilliard asking Rind repeatedly if he would be able to supply a certain number of pills. After some negotiation, the 2 business partners struck up an agreement for buying the pills. J. Rind would send James Gilliard photos of the places where he hid the drugs for pickup and where he expected to find the money to be left after every transaction. In some instances, James Gilliard had specific drug requests from J. Rind, which he was able to provide for after a bit of negotiation had been done. From the texts, authorities were able to deduce that in most cases, James Gilliard was usually selling the drugs requested for to other people. As the transactions became more and more frequent, James Gilliard and Alex Paquin, Mr. Rind's roommate, began to relate on separate grounds. On one occasion, Alex, who had stolen some pills from J. Rind, texted James Gilliard privately. In the message, he asked James to keep the conversation between the 2 of them. He then asked him if he could cover for him by telling J. Rind that he had miscounted a number of Adderall pills. Alex Paquin offered James Gilliard a $100 payment and other future favors, including 30 free Adderall pills at his next pickup if he would cover for him. Just before James Gilliard's death, J. Rind had asked him in a text message for a financial favor. "I need a financial favor, and I will throw in my S&W 9mm in the deal," the text message read. At the time of the message from Jay, James was with his family on vacation in Georgia. In the text thread uncovered by the police, J. Rind appears to offer James Gilliard his Smith & Wesson firearm to sweeten the deal. The police report revealed that the transactions were majorly between James Gilliard and J. Rind, with occasional appearances from Alex Paquin. The entire arrangement lasted for approximately 10 months. It was shocking for James Gilliard's family to find out that James had been dealing drugs for nearly a year without anyone's knowledge. On the day of his death, James Gilliard told his wife, Michelle Gilliard, that he was about to do a deal of a lifetime on some guns and that he was going out to meet the seller. James then went out for dinner with J. Rind. After the 2 men had finished their dinner, they proceeded to Jay's house to check out the guns. It was while they were there at J. Rind's home that he claims he accidentally discharged the gun into James Gilliard's stomach, ultimately killing him on November 2nd. Immediately after his death, his department, Fire Rescue 16, Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, issued the following statement on his death. At Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, our hearts are broken as we mourn the loss of one of our fire captains, Captain James Gilliard. 48-year-old Captain Gilliard passed away unexpectedly on November 2nd, 2020. Captain Gilliard was a beloved member of Palm Beach County Fire Rescue for 21 years. Our fire rescue family is working together to support his family at this difficult time. Captain James Gilliard is survived by his loving wife, Michelle, daughter, Olivia, son, Benton, and his extended family. Jay Rind was originally charged with third-degree murder. The charges were later upgraded. The court affidavit, which revealed the text messages between the two men, was eventually made public when reporters attempted to get statements from James Gilliard's colleagues. This statement was released. Palm Beach County Fire Rescue does not engage in discussion regarding open investigations, law enforcement matters, or cases involving pending litigation. While nothing is certain as of this time, a lot of questions are left unanswered, especially given the evidence with the police. It seems obvious that the amount of drugs that James Gilliard purchased from Jay Rind could not have solely been for his consumption alone. With over 30 transactions between the two men, with some purchases going as high as 30 pills of oxycodone, morphine, and Adderall, there is no way James Gilliard alone was using the pills he purchased from Jay Rind. The frequency of the transactions is another strange part of the arrangement. It appears that Mr. Gilliard and Jay Rind met every other week to pick up the pills. While the police have not made any comments on the ongoing investigation, there appear to be two missing parties in the transactions. On the one hand, there is the question of who Mr. Rind was collecting his supply of drugs from. The ease of his purchase and the variety of the pills Mr. Rind had to offer suggest that he may have been dealing with a drug syndicate. From the affidavits, it appears that whatever it was that Mr. Gilliard wanted, he could get. The only issue that seemed to come up was how soon he could get his orders delivered. On the other hand, the frequency of James Gilliard's offers and the variety of his choices brings up the question of who he was selling the drugs he purchased to. How was James Gilliard, a respected member of his society and a firefighter, able to conjure a market for his drug business in only 10 months? Was he selling to his colleagues at the fire rescue? Why did the fire rescue appear so adamant about ensuring that no statements were given? Even after the new revelations of James Gilliard's drug use and trade, he was still given an honorable burial. Should the insistence of the fire rescue to honor Mr. Gilliard raise suspicion of involvement by his department? In the police reports, no mention was made about the arrest of Jay Rind's roommate, Alex Paquin. There is a very real possibility that Alex Paquin may have been involved in the death of James Gilliard. It appears that in some way, the promise of a deal of a lifetime may have been bait to lure James Gilliard to the home of Jay Rind. There has still been no explanation with Jay Rind or the police about the drugs found in James Gilliard's system and their potential effect on the way things may have played out at Mr. Jay Rind's residence. From the time that the news of Mr. Jay Rind's charges being upgraded was published till 2022, no news of the progress of the trial was published, which usually means that Mr. Rind may have taken plea bargain. In 2022, a news headline from CBS 12 read, "Suspect in killing of fire captain dies." Jay Rind was reportedly dead, and with him, the answers to several unanswered questions about the death of James Gilliard. By all indications, it appears that there may have been some larger plot in play than a random gun discharge.